Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Today is a day of anniversaries. Now, some are sad, but some are happy. I would like you all to join me in raising a glass and wishing happy anniversary to the Orient Mako? No, I didn't know it was its anniversary either, but there you go. Apparently they've been making the Mako now for a whole 2 decades. A watch that was originally conceived as a rival to the venerable Seiko SKX by its sister brand admittedly, has now outlived the SKX by close to 5 years. And if that isn't worth a limited release 3,000 numbered pieces worldwide 20th anniversary edition, then I don't know what is. Now you saw the pop-up. This video is sponsored by Watch Nation. Watch Nation are a bricks and mortar and online store based in Chester in the UK. They have the exclusive rights to the Orient Mako 20th Anniversary Limited Edition in that market, and they sent me one in for review. Not only that, but it is currently on sale for 18% off the regular retail price, so £349 rather than £425. I will of course leave a link to the listing on the Watch Nation website in the description of the video. And they don't just sell Orients, they also sell Seikos, Hamilton, and their in-house brand Cestrian. I've had a look at a couple of Cestrians on the channel now. They are fantastic value for money, highly recommended. So what actually constitutes the 20th anniversary special edition? And the eternal question, is it any good? Let's flip the camera and find out. Okay, it's the rules. If you're going to release a limited edition watch, you have to have it advertised on the packaging, otherwise it's not limited, is it? So limited edition on the outer sleeve, Orient have not disappointed us here, and limited edition on the inner box as well. Do you know what? The box is pretty good. I would say this is much more substantial and sturdy than you would normally expect from a regular Mako or Kamasu. Let's be honest, it is just an entry-level big brand Japanese dive watch after all, so yeah, this is quite nice. Now, in terms of the watch itself, I think there are maybe 5 things to separate this limited edition model from the regular Makos. They're charging an extra £50 for this limited edition. I don't think that is unreasonable. I think it's perfectly fair. It just comes down to whether or not you like what they've added to the watch. All right, we'll move that to one side for now. 2-year warranty with these, by the way, if you're buying them from Watch Nation. And one other nice thing I noted, they will size the watch for your wrist. Now, I had to remove 2 links from this to get it to fit my 7-inch wrist. I reckon you're up to 7 3/4 inch wrist therefore. But just leave them a note with your purchase and they will size it for you. Hang tag. Thank you, Orient, RAAA0822L19B. And there it is. I promise I'm not going to say the word limited edition again. You have definitely got the idea by now. Now let's bring that thumbnail back in again. I have looked at the Mako on the channel before, but it was 6 years ago. And the Mako that I have in front of me today is rather a different beast from the one that I reviewed back in 2018. Physically, it's similar, but it has been upgraded. There's a new movement in the back of this one, and there is sapphire crystal. The Orient Kamasu, when it launched, I think that was 2021, really moved the game forward for Japanese big brand entry-level divers by fitting a piece of flat sapphire as standard. That has now been fitted to the Mako, meaning it's an aesthetic choice. Do you prefer the 1269 Arabic numeral layout of the Mako, or do you prefer the baton indices and slightly different hand shape of the Kamasu? Previously, you were picking them based on specs. Now, you're purely picking them based on visuals. Now, they're very similar in terms of dimensions as well. They cite this one as a 42. I measure it at 41.5 mil in diameter, 12.9 mil thick, only 46.2 mil lug tip to lug tip, which is pretty compact considering the larger than 40 diameter dimension. Now, lug width, 22 mil. Half of you have just gone yay, half of you have just gone They could have gone either way with this one. Some people prefer the larger size, some people prefer the smaller size. That's just what you're going to have to deal with either the Kamasu or the Mako. It does taper down to 19.5, back up to 21 at the clasp. As size for me, with those 2 links removed, it weighs in at 160 grams, so definitely a little bit beefier than a 4020 would have been. Screw down crown, 200 meters of water resistance, not ISO certified though, flat sapphire as discussed, and the movement in the back is an Epson in-house caliber F6922. Now they can be found elsewhere in non-Orient Epson Group products as the YN55, but it's the F6922 in the back of this one, 22 dual, hacking and hand winding automatic, roughly 40-hour power reserve, minus 15 to plus 25 maximum variance per day. Now, what do we think of the case back? We have a high polished outer edge, it's just a standard screw-on case back, 200 meters as discussed, and that area in the center with a twin dolphin logo and anniversary edition. This particular one that I have is 1498 out of 300. Like I said, there's 4 or 5 things that differentiate this one from the norm. That little case back printing is one of them. Case finish is very simple, nothing flash, nothing fancy, but all neat and tidy nonetheless. Super fine brushing on the mid case and the upper lug surfaces, high polished chamfer running from lug tip to lug tip. It's actually quite nice on the crown side. It runs to the edge of the crown guard. Fully guarded crown actually, not a big crown, it's around 5.5 millimeters, and it does have the Orient logo, but it's just printed on there rather than etched or embossed or anything, much like the printing on the case back. Now, I'm sure you've noticed one of the other features of this limited edition Mako. It's the bezel. They've gone for a coated coloured bezel here. It's kind of a gunmetal. I wouldn't describe it quite as black. Yeah, it's nice along with that Batman insert and that vibrant blue wave dial gold hands. There you go. That's pretty much all this one's USP in one shot there. In terms of the bezel itself, 120 click, unidirectional. Yeah, quite nice in hand. Again, pretty much what you'd expect. Everything lines up nicely too. And then there's the bracelet, so often the Achilles heel of this style of watch, and yeah, probably the Achilles heel today as well. The links themselves are alright, it's a 3-link oyster style, just push pins holding them together, but I had no problem resizing it to fit earlier on. I'm sure you spotted them. Hollow end links, old school, and a fully pressed clasp. Pressed upper, pressed lower. It does feel a little bit flimsy and rattly. At least it is stamped with the Orient logo, and at least you have 4 micro adjust positions, security fold over, double trigger, and it's comfortable on wrist at least. Alright, dial in hands, I'm going to cut back and forth between some macro shots as well. Get in a little bit closer, you can see some of the details. Yeah, it is a little bit special, this dial, with that blue horizontal wave pattern and the gold hands. You definitely feel like you've bought something one rung above the ordinary version of the Mako, that's for sure. Now, I would describe this dial as embossed rather than applied, so the Arabics, the 12, the 6, the 9, the baton indices, and the Orient logo pushed through from the back rather than applied from the top. Water resistance rating is also printed on there, 20 bar, and there is an applied frame around the day date complication at the 3 o'clock. Now, day dates, I know a lot of people really enjoy a day date complication, having both of those there on the dial of a watch. That's something you definitely get from both Mako and Kamasu, as well as you used to get from the old SKX range, the arch rival as discussed. Nicely framed in this case as well, with a bar down the middle separating the two features. Now, the sword hands are carried over from the regular Makos, but they're not gold on the regular Makos as they are here. I think they're nicely proportioned, and there's plenty of lume on them, as you'll see in just a second. One other feature you may not have spotted though, just beyond the day date frame, replacing the minute markers between 3 and 5, it says Anniversary Edition printed again there in white. One other reminder of why you spent the 50 quid extra. Now, in terms of lume, I did say this dial was embossed, meaning they're not applied indices, meaning you're somewhat limited to how much lume you can put on those numerals and on those batons. Therefore, as you'll see when I turn the speed up, they fade quicker than the hands do. Hey, look, the hands are the things you really want to last, plus the lume pip at 12 if you're going to do some diving. But yeah, it would have been nicer if they had been a bit more longevity from the indices and the hour markers. Now, on wrist, I think the colour scheme really works. I do like the Batman insert, plus that black bezel, plus those gold hands just giving the whole thing a lift. The wave dial, the blue wave dial, kind of comes and goes depending on light. It's never obtrusive, but it's always there as a bit of a treat when you catch it occasionally. Now, in terms of the way this watch wears on me, 46 lug to lug is great, and the fact that it sits nice and flush sub 13mm is also really good. However, the fact that they went for 22mm lug width is noticeable. It looks like there's more bracelet on your wrist because there is more bracelet on your wrist, quite a lot more bracelet, and it's a big old clasp as well. Now, that has positives. It's nice and secure. It sits comfortably and snugly, and it isn't going anywhere. It doesn't roll around or rattle around. But yeah, visually, it looks like you're wearing a more substantial watch than you are because they've gone for that slightly larger lug width. There you go, that's the overhead shot for a bit more perspective. Legibility is okay, the hands are well proportioned, but yeah, gold against blue, they don't really stand out perhaps in the way they would do if they were white against black, for example, but it's not too bad. And you can see what I mean, I'm sure, about the fact that there is a bit more bracelet than you would normally expect from a watch at around this size. Alright, moans and niggles, nothing too nefarious today, to be honest. I've been singing the praises of the Kamasu since it was launched. I made a couple of videos telling you how good it is, and I haven't changed my mind since I last saw one. I guess it's the bracelet. It's an entry-level Japanese dive watch. The bracelets are always a bit of a weakness, and yeah, this one is definitely a weakness. When was the last time I reviewed a watch with hollow end links on the channel? I have genuinely forgotten. But yeah, it was probably also an entry-level Japanese dive watch at around this price. It's comfortable enough. Yeah, it's livable, you can cope with it, but it doesn't make the watch feel like it belongs in the rung above, if you see what I mean. It very much grounds it at its price. Talking of price, have you seen enough here today to spend £50 more on this limited edition? If so, great. If not, you're not short of other Orient options, all floating around that high £280, £290 mark available from Watch Nation. But if that's beyond your budget today, don't forget the Cestrian Dive series, pretty much the same specs for about half of the money. But happy anniversary Orient Mako, great to see you made it to 20. Who knows, if I'm still around in 10 years and you're still around in 10 years, maybe we'll get together again for the 30-year anniversary limited edition. Fingers crossed. So there you have it. If you're a fan of Orient in general, or the Mako in particular, I think for £50 more, this one is very fairly priced for a limited edition. They haven't gone overboard, but you do get the nice box, the wave dial, the gold hands, the black bezel, and relative exclusivity. But if you don't fancy the special edition, you can't really go wrong with either the Mako or the Kamasu. They're still great value, everyday Japanese divers. Like I said, Watch Nation also sells Cestrian, awesome value. If you want to have a look at them, click here or click here. Thanks for watching this one all the way to the end. I'll see you again in the next one.